I am Leena Gupta from the Postgraduate Department of Economics. In this class, we are going to learn about correlation analysis and its methods. So what is correlation? Correlation is an important technique of statistical analysis. It measures the closeness of relationship between the variables. It attempts to determine the degree of relationship between the variables. So the concept of correlation can be more clearly explained with the help of an example. If I say higher the price, lesser the demand, higher the income, more the consumption, more the sales, more the profit. So two variables, they are associated. So correlation measures the closeness of relationship between the variables. Now, I'm discussing the types of the correlation. So there are three types, and we can discuss the types of correlation on the basis of the direction, on the basis of the proportion, and on the basis of the variable. On the basis of the direction, there are positive and negative, and on the basis of the change in the proportion, linear correlation and the non-linear correlation. And on the basis of the variable, we have simple, multiple, and partial correlation. Now, there are the examples of the linear correlation and the examples of the nonlinear correlation. Now, I'm coming to the simple correlation, partial correlation, and the multiple correlation. When we study the relationship between the two variables, height and weight, price and demand, then it is said to be called simple correlation. Now, partial correlation, if there are more than two variables and we study the correlation between only the two variables, assuming the other variables is constant, then it is called partial correlation. Multiple correlation, we study the combined influence of two variables on a single dependent variable. It is called the multiple correlation. Here I have discussed the degrees of correlation like perfect correlation, high degree, moderate, low, and absence of the correlation. Now coming to the methods of correlation. There are different methods of finding the correlation. Scatter diagram, Karl-Pearson, Spearman, and concurrent deviation. Scatter diagram, it is the graphical method of finding the correlation between the two variables. By this method, we are able to ascertain on the basis of the direction, the correlation. And here I have explained the different perfect positive correlation, perfect negative correlation, high degree of positive, negative, and zero. And coming, if I discuss about the merits of this method, this is a simple and mathematical method. Demerits, this is rough and it does not give exact degree of relationship. Now next is the Karl-Pearson coefficient of correlation. It is given by Karl-Pearson, and the main characteristics of this method that it gives the knowledge of the direction of correlation. It gives the knowledge of degree of correlation. And this Karl-Pearson coefficient of correlation, it is based on covariance. So if we want to find the correlation with the help of the Karl-Pearson coefficient of correlation, we divide it into two parts. First is the individual or ungrouped data, and second is the grouped data. So for finding the correlation in the individual series, first is the actual mean method, assumed mean method, the product movement, which is also called the method based on actual values, variance and covariance. I have discussed one example also to make it more clarification for this method. Now, after discussing the Karl-Pearson coefficient of correlation, there are different properties of coefficient of correlation. The coefficient of correlation lies between -1 and +1. The coefficient of correlation, it is independent of change of origin and scale. Coefficient of correlation is the geometric mean of two regression coefficient, which I have explained in my presentation, that R is equal to under root Pyx and Pxy. Now, what is Pyx and Pxy? These are the regression coefficients. Correlation coefficient is symmetric. It is Rxy, can also be written as Ryx. Now, coming to the Spearman rank correlation. This Spearman rank correlation, it was given by Professor Spearman. This correlation is used to compute, this method is used to compute the correlation between the qualitative data. What type of qualitative data we have? We have like beauty, honesty, intelligence. For finding the Spearman rank correlation, there is one formula which I have discussed in my presentation. After this, how to calculate the rank correlation. I have discussed one practical problem in my PowerPoint presentation. Now, the concurrent deviation method is another method of finding the correlation. Correlation is determined on the basis of the direction of the deviation. Now, what is RC? It is the coefficient of concurrent deviation. C is the number of positive signs obtained after multiplying dx and dy. The demerit of this method that it is not a direct method like a Carl Pearson method. So I have shown one example, practical problem to make it more explainable. Now I come to the conclusion that this correlation statistical tool is of immense significance in the practical life, which is clear from the following point. With the help of correlation, we measure the degree of relationship. The concept of the regression is based on correlation. This correlation is useful for the economist. An economist can specify the relation between different variables like demand and supply, money price, and price level. The traders, they make the estimation of the cost, sale, and price on this fantastic technique. Researchers are also making the use of this technique. And thank you. That's all about my presentation. And I'm thank you to the UGC HRDC committee for organizing this workshop. Thank you.
Stop. Yeah, na?